Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny takes place a few years after Crystal Skull, when the daughter of one of Indiana Jones's friends is looking for the Dial of Destiny. I can't remember the exact name for it.
Let's just call it the Dial of Destiny. I don't remember, bro.
It's something with A.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And this movie is very Indiana Jones. Follows the formula quite well. There's like the prologue with the Nazi train, which is very good. One kind of off-putting thing about it is it's like old Harrison Ford voice with young Harrison Ford body.
I thought that.
But I thought it was very good. A great start to the movie. And then it jumps forward in time, and he's a teacher again at a different school, and he's retiring, and they're like landing on the moon. And you get a little bit of like Operation Paperclip with like the Americans working with like German like Nazi scientists to put men on the moon. And a Nazi scientist is trying to go back in time to save Germany in World War II. And I'm not sure how this movie manages to follow the Indiana Jones formula, but also be half an hour to what feels like 45 minutes longer than all the other movies. It's a very long movie, and and you can feel the length.
Drags a bit.
In my opinion, there's some parts that can be removed, and we can talk about that a bit later. But they go to like Morocco, and then they go to Greece. I think there's a bit too many places they go to.
One too many.
Yeah, and if it was slightly shorter, I think it would be really, really brilliant. But I think there's a little bit too much.
Yeah, I guess I might be in the minority with this one. I really didn't like this movie like at all. It's going to sound kind of terrible to say, but this gave me more appreciation for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, because Dial of Destiny I saw, what was it, 2 weeks ago, and I had to, before going on this podcast, I had to look at my review as like a refresher of what happened, because it's such a forgettable entry, and I never thought I would say that about an Indiana Jones movie, because it's like, oh yeah, this is the one where someone's face melted, or oh, this is the one where a heart got taken out. And this one, it's like it's where they do time traveling in the last like 5 minutes of a nearly 3-hour movie. Got it. Yeah, it's a very off-putting movie. Like it's incredibly safe, and I think that considering this franchise started off as like a unsafe action film that felt like a breath of fresh air, it just was very off-putting with how sanitized. It's even more sanitized than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and the way it ends, I'm like, I never thought I would say, oh yeah, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, like the ending, like I retroactively respect it more, but that's how I felt with this one. I really did not like Dial of Destiny, and I'm saying as a huge fan of Indiana Jones, I really, really did not like it. So sorry about the rant.
I actually really like this movie. Like, I went in knowing that the reviews were mixed. And so I was waiting for something like some really bad script choice, or like a really like cringy MacGuffin or plot decision to come in. And I just didn't get that. Like, first of all, Ben and I saw it in IMAX, and I thought just visually, James Mangold did a beautiful job of making it feel Indiana Jonesy. I thought like the 60s style was immersive, and you could really feel like, there's an artifact behind any of these walls. I really liked that about it. And then just in terms of the plot, like the plot was, I guess, kind of safe, but I was really just satisfied with the action. I really thought the way it was edited and the score. I mean, we don't even have to mention John Williams because he's always amazing. But I also just really enjoyed how Harrison Ford gave it his all. I loved the way it was shot. I thought Phoebe Waller-Bridge was really good. Like, she was better in my opinion than Shia LaBeouf. Boyd Holbrook I thought was really good. Mads Mikkelsen I thought was a great villain. I liked his villain here more than I liked his villain in Doctor Strange. And I also just thought that, like, personally, I didn't mind the runtime as much. Like, you can feel it just because it's a lot of locations, but I didn't mind it. And I also thought the final act, I didn't think the decision was... I thought it was okay in terms of Indiana Jones spirit. You know, you get, like, the ghosts coming out of the ark. You get, ripping... Like, there's a room for something, like, very out there and ballsy and weird and crazy. And, like, when it comes to time travel and history, I'm kind of glad that they went there. I enjoyed it personally.
Well, yeah, I'm glad that you had a good time with it. And to be honest with you, the third act, when they went and they did, like, time travel and everything, I wish that they did more with that, because I felt like it was very surface level. Like, I thought that the idea of them going back in time and everything was something that I liked, but I just thought the execution left a lot to be desired. Like, the fact when he goes back in time, he's like, yeah, I think I'll die here. And it's like, why? And it's like, I'll just die here. And I'm like, okay. And I'm someone that I like it. Like, I liked Logan. I liked the decision to kill him off, or at least we all thought, until Deadpool 3. But anyways, I liked that idea, and usually I'm all about that. But here, I just was like, if they decide to do that, it's going to be very, like, not fitting with everything that we saw before that. And I just thought
they didn't kill him.
Yeah, but the fact that Phoebe Waller just, like, knocked him out, and it was like he just wakes up in his home and everything. I'm like, okay, first of all, how did you even get him to? I don't know. It's when you in a franchise that you're not supposed to really ask questions, you're supposed to just go along with the journey. This movie just made me ask a lot more questions that I'm not used to with this franchise. I usually just go with it, but I just found myself asking a lot of questions. Like, how did they do this? Why did they do this? And I'm just like, I felt very frustrated watching it.
Yeah. Okay, so I think you guys noticed that I've been very silent during this part of the conversation. I'm just taking it all in. It's weird because when I saw the movie, there was a lot of things that I really loved about it. Like, the first scene with the Nazi stuff, like that's like Indiana Jones at, like, its core. It's weird as hell that he sounds 95, but whatever. It's not like we have technology to fix that right in 2023, and we just used it in a show done by this. We used it in a show made by the same company. How the hell did that happen? Like, Luke Skywalker didn't sound like he was 60 in Boba Fett.
You're right.
He sounded like he was 30. So I don't know what happened there. But yeah, that scene was pretty great. And I like the connection of, like, Mads Mikkelsen with, like, the real life, like, Nazi situation of the Nazis helping the U.S. government and all that. But, like, and all that was good, but, like, and the second action scene is also really good, of him in the horse in the middle of the city. I thought that was amazing. But, like, kind of like everything after that, until they go to the, like, to that dig, to that excavation where they find the actual MacGuffin, was kind of too. It was dragged on, like, it was too long. I didn't like the characters enough. Besides Indy, like, I have to disagree with Gal. I think that Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character was not better than Shia LaBeouf. I think she was, like, because he was annoying at first, but, like, he had this weird, like, kid complex, and, like, with the whole dad thing and all that, and then he gradually becomes better. I think, like, she's annoying as hell the whole movie, and then in the final scene, you're supposed to believe that in the drop of a hat, like she became good. She was laughing 5 minutes after Antonio Banderas died, and like Indy even points that out. Like that's horrible. It was like, what are you laughing about? Like, so yeah. So for me, her character was like not because of her. She's a great actress.
Yeah.
And I'm not like, oh, they're making Indiana Jones a woman. That's definitely not what I'm doing here. I just thought that like the script really let her down as an actress because it was a lot of her just being like not even annoying, but just kind of not of a good person. And then at the drop of
Well,
a hat, she
kind of
becomes
a scumbag a
uh,
little.
I think also, Ben, you told me you were like the opposite, right? Because you said the movie picked up for you during the scuba diving scene.
Yeah. Remove the whole Morocco sequence from the movie and it would be so much better. And then, like, for me, picked up when they went to the Aegean and did the diving. One thing about Phoebe's character is I actually disagree that she was a like stereotypical terrible person, because like she is stereotypical like rogue with the heart of gold, like throughout the movie, where like the kid's like, I thought we were doing this for the money, and she's like, yeah, we're doing it for the money, yeah. No, she's like, she's not. She like wants to finish her dad's work. One of the like really fun things in the movie, like a really fun callback that I picked up is in Indy. I was like, why are you looking for the thing that drove your father crazy? And she says like, wouldn't you? That was a really cool like callback to
The Holy Grail.
to the Grail. Like that was quite fun. The kid, I can't remember his name.
It was like something. He had like an American name, even though
He
Teddy. His name was Teddy.
Teddy didn't need to be in the movie at all.
Oh, I agree.
She reminded me a lot of like Mac in Kingdom of Crystal Skull, where she's like, good, bad, and it's just kind of like, after a while, it's like, okay, I'm kind of over whether
yeah.
you're good or bad. Like, I don't care. And I'm saying as a huge Phoebe Waller fan, I think she's a great actress, but it just a lot of times with her decision making, it felt more so like based on, hey, I'm doing this because the script's saying this, not so much like, hey, as a character, this decision makes sense. I don't know. Also, I just want to get this out of the way. I was also just frustrated that with Indiana Jones, like after the him on a horse and everything, every other action scene, it just felt very much so like he was avoiding being a part of the action. And I get it, he's old, but this is an Indiana Jones film, and he always has to be at the center of the action. And it's like, I
Yeah.
love motorcycle chases. I love just that kind of action, but it just seemed like we got a lot of that, and it just kind of felt repetitive after a while.
One thing I will say is, I said this movie is very Indiana Jones. It's textbook in Indiana Jones, and that's why it was said that it feels so safe, because it is just textbook. There's no really like risks taken. It's kind of just following a checklist of like a formula with none of the like magic of the first three.
It felt like a checkbox type movie. It didn't feel like it had the heart or the soul of the first three, or even some of King of Crystal Skull's little bit of the heart that it had.
Here, I'll start. Fine. I actually really liked it more than most people in the world. I personally gave it an 8, but yeah.
I will say when I first watched it, I gave it an 8 as well. When I was coming off that movie, I was like in the high of seeing Indy kiss Marion, so I was like, "Fuck yeah, finally happened." He's happy. That's all I needed instead of him being beaten down for like 20 years. But the more I think about this movie, and the more I thought since then, and I started seeing some of the critiques a little bit more, and I just started thinking by myself a little bit more about it. Yeah, there's some stuff in here that like really make me like some not even like want to rewatch it that much. I probably will when it comes out on like Disney Plus or something. But like as a huge fan as I am, like I thought I would be one of those that would have gone like 2-3 times in the theater, and then in would have gotten it for rent when it got out. You know, like that's what I did with, like, when Star Wars came back and all that. So yeah, so for me it's a 7.5. It's slightly better than Crystal Skull when it comes to like filmmaking. Maybe 7.25, like just slightly better when it's a lot better when it comes to filmmaking in general. But like you said, it lacks the magic that Crystal Skull had, even though it was little of it as well.
Yeah, well, I respect both of your guys' views and ratings in regards to this film because, it's one of those things where even if I don't like something, I definitely want to see it where other people do get enjoyment out of something. So, despite not liking this movie at all, I'm glad you guys like this. For me, there's just so many elements that I found it very much a slog, and it's one of those things. I went to the theater and I had like my Indiana Jones fedora on and everything, so I was pumped. But by the halfway point, I was like, I have a feeling I might not like this as much as King of the Crystal Skull, which a 5.5 out of 10 isn't that high. And by the end, I was like, yeah, I'm checked out. I'd give it a 4 out of 10. I actually own the box set like on 4K, and I'm like, well, I'm glad that I bought this because it's like there's technically only 3, but the fourth one, if I am ever in the mood, I'll watch. But I don't think I'll ever watch this again. So 4 out of 10, sticking with that.
Oof. I would say I was definitely expecting a lot more from when I heard that Spielberg dropped out but they got mangled. I was like, hell yeah. So this movie isn't gonna suffer. Just hoping for better. And it kind of sucks because unlike Star Wars, we can't get many more of these or any of these at all.
My rating for this would probably be, it's like fluctuated for me between like a 6, a 7, and an 8. So yeah, this movie for me, the rating has fluctuated between 6, 7, and 8. I think right now it's sitting at 7, but I'm still kind of deciding exactly where it sits.
Yeah, I'm getting it down to a 7 too. Screw it.
Film Fanatics. From the silver screen to your earphones with Alan Azulay and Gal Balaban.